Joining us now to talk about what is going on, and as well with the failure of the Republican repeal and replacement of Obamacare, is the executive editor of the Weekly Standard, Fred Barnes, Forbes media chairman, editor-in-chief Steve Forbes. Good to have you both with us.
Thank you.
Let's start with since it is compelling news of the day. That is the failure of Speaker Ryan, Steve, to move this legislation through. He reassured the president, he reassured everyone that he had it under control, he had the votes, and I mean was cocky beyond belief as he sort of strutted through it all at news conferences saying he had it.
Well, in politics and sports, you always say you have it, but the question is, what are you doing to actually make it happen? And by not working closely with the Freedom Caucus, maybe they couldn't get a bill, but clearly I think if they'd done some old-fashioned horse trading, they could have gotten something that could at least pass the House. And
does he seriously, the Speaker, think that he is somehow relieved of the burden of having to incorporate the views, the interests, the ideas of the members of the House? Because it's arrogance in the extreme. I mean, it's just incomprehensible to watch this man operate. And yet, he's been there as Speaker less than 2 years. As I said earlier, has never done a damn thing in his career.
Well, the thing on health care, is something that complicated, which you know is going to involve a lot of moving parts, a lot of interest coming in and out.
A lot of people depending on what you do.
And why do you lead with that? They pay too much attention to the Congressional Budget Office and crazy scoring. They should have led with a big, bold, simple tax cut, no border tax and the like.
Let me hazard a guess. Fred?
Yes.
He led because it was his deal, his legislation, his better way nonsense mantra. And he knew that his best shot of getting it through was to lead first, and the hell with the President of the United States and his agenda.
Do I get to have an answer here? You did the question and the answer.
Well, I gave my answer. Now it's time for yours. You've got to stay with me, Fred. This all has a purpose.
The truth is, Steve Forbes is exactly right. It was a huge mistake not to start with tax reform and a tax cut, reducing the corporate rate, the individual rate, repatriating all those trillions of dollars overseas. That was the thing to do. There's a terrible history, Lou, when presidents start with health care. Look what happened to Jimmy Carter. Bill Clinton, rather, with Hillary Claire. She put her stamp on his presidency, and in 1994, they lost the House for the first time in 20 years, and we know what happened with Obamacare.
Okay, let me ask you both this. What if, let's be cynical here, because we know the Koch brothers don't want this legislation to go through, which it did not today. And the president looked hurt. He looked angry. He looked like a man who had lost a battle. And the Speaker looked like a man who was indifferent to the outcome. Could it possibly be that the Koch brothers had some influence on the outcome, which was to destroy the legislation that they were saying? They said clearly they'd spend $300 to $400 million to stop this legislation. What do you think, Steve?
I think they're like a lot of House members. They just didn't like the thing and gave cover to those who were fearful that the Speaker and others would come after him in primaries. Koch brothers, in effect, said, we'll cover you if you oppose this legislation. Yeah. So that's part of the normal process. Yeah.
But unlike the normal process, $300 to $400 million, Fred, that's a pretty strong air cover.
That's peanut money for George Soros.
Well, not George Soros. I'm talking about Charles, the Koch brothers. What do you think?
I thought the president looked resilient. I thought he looked pretty good. Yeah. You're blaming Paul Ryan. He didn't. He insisted on going first, too. Now, maybe it was Paul Ryan's first idea in the first place. You know better than that. You know who wanted to go to first, and you go first, and you know who talked who into moving there. Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
You act like President Trump doesn't have a mind of his own.
Who doesn't?
I think he does.
Who doesn't?
I think you do. You think, well, gee, that Paul Ryan just tricked him into doing this.
No, you were telling me you told me throughout what a splendid fellow Paul Ryan was, and I'm still waiting for you to tell me what the hell he's ever succeeded at.
Well, he succeeded. He was a very good chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee.
Yes,
He's
okay.
the man behind the tax reform bill that will come out.
That'll come out when? When was he the head of the Ways
It's going
and
to come
Means?
out. It's going to come out in a few
that was over
weeks.
2 years ago, and now here it comes rushing at us. Steve Forbes, Fred Barnes. Fred.
Yes.
Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
I always enjoy it.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.